Hey guys, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you're going to notice that I look a little different. That's because my video originally failed. Celia's was fine, so instead of just crashing video altogether, I decided to do something a little creative, so hope you enjoy. Changes. Molly isn't changing. She never will. Guys, we've made it to the end of Molly. Thank God.
I wish it was the end.
Yeah,
She goes on and has a whole life.
She lives forever. She could still be alive, honestly. She'd be old as fuck, but she could still be alive, I think.
It's true.
Yeah, she could be.
But I don't think so, because she never ate her turnips.
She didn't eat her neeps. But we have come to the last Molly book, Changes from Molly. We've come to the end of the war. We've come to the end of the Molly. How are we feeling? Which was worse, enduring World War II or enduring Molly?
Well, I only had to do one of those things.
I did both, and I think they're equal.
So,
as your older friend,
I did both. Yeah.
And we're also done with the OG 3 girls.
Which is crazy.
I know. Kirsten, Samantha, Molly.
What a weird
trio. What an unholy trinity.
I don't think any of them would like each other.
I don't think so either.
That's my big take, but it's not so big. It's a small take.
Molly would hate Samantha.
Oh, big time.
She would see Samantha as competition that Samantha would never see her as. But I think Samantha might take pity in her savior complex on Kirsten.
Yes, I agree. I agree with all such takes.
And Molly wouldn't give Kirsten the time of day.
No.
She's the Susan in the three of their dynamic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's tough.
But what were your expectations? How did Molly meet them? Or not ever fully meet them?
I don't have a lot of takes. I don't like her. Well,
I don't like her. She trails off.
I think she is the most realistic of the 3 girls, because I felt like she was the most like an average 9-year-old or 10-year-old nowadays. I just think I found her series largely unremarkable.
Yeah.
She's living through such a significant point in history.
And she's so insignificant.
And yes, and yet I was like, oh, is the point that life just did go on even though these things were happening? And kind of perhaps I'm giving too much credit to the American Girl writers. But I don't know. I just think I leave her and I take none of her with me.
I think that's fair. I think Molly has been a little bit tough. Like I said, she's a little bit less palatable than the other girls. She's just, like you said, there's moments where her brattiness is a little bit unforgivable. And as we've kind of said ad infinitum, she never gets checked for it in a way that kind of makes her reflect, which is why she keeps doing it, I assume.
Yes.
And that's just, it doesn't feel good to read sometimes.
No.
As adults who love revenge, it doesn't feel good to see that. Well, there is a kind of delicious revenge in this, from my point of view.
That's true. I would argue so.
But the one thing that I thought was interesting was all the other Changes books, or I'm not sure, we'll see as we go on, but Changes for Kirsten and Changes for Samantha were winter stories again. Or Kirsten's was like November.
Yeah.
And so it's winter. And she's wearing her cute little outfit.
Yeah.
And Changes for Samantha was winter. And this is in March. And so this is almost, and Molly's birthday is happy birthday, Molly. Her birthday has to be like April or something, because they're all springtime birthdays. So this is almost a full year after happy birthday, Molly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting, and I assume they did that because this was closer to the end of the war and it would make more sense for her dad to come home. Spoiler. But it is kind of interesting to have that kind of stopgap that, again, Molly continues to not follow the trend of the other girls.
Yeah, I did right. You were okay, Molly.
And that's all we can really say about it. And then, as you wrote to, Emily not mentioned at all, neither is Bennett, the dog.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, no dog. And so it kind of makes sense that there's no dog in the summer camp book, but in this book, she's home the whole time.
She doesn't even think I miss my dog.
Where did he go?
I miss Emily.
They do mention Emily once in this book.
Yeah, I glossed right over it. That's
Okay.
how
I'll let you know.
insignificant it was to me.
But yeah, guys, we're just gonna get into it because we've got studio time is powering down and people are peeking in. So let's do it. Chapter 1. Hooray for the U.S.A. Molly and her friends are leaving tap dancing class on a dreary March day. I tried.
I liked it.
They're in their town's Hooray for USA pageant showcase, which is basically like a patriotic show that everyone in the town is in to raise money for the Veterans Hospital, which just feels kind of crazy.
Again, just stuff
Kinda
like
loser behavior.
I know like fundraisers and such things still do happen and still do exist today.
But America's so wild.
But imagine like all community, right? Like even in our neighborhoods in Austin, right? Like
Yeah.
like in my neighborhood, which I won't be specific about, I guess. So I'm not weird.
Don't find us.
Like I couldn't imagine anybody in my neighbor. Like I don't know any of my neighbors. I know my landlords.
Yeah.
But like there's not like a community.
It's not like you're like, oh, the Red Cross is throwing a
Right.
hen
block.
dude.
We're all having a block party, and
Yeah.
we're shutting down the street, and our kids will play and know things and do a little show together.
It feels weird that it's not just a school show, you know, like a spring concert for the
Yes,
school, which
that
feels like
there's
it could have been.
Outside adult involvement.
But I guess this happened. It must have. They wrote about it.
Yeah, so true. Indeed so.
So Molly, Linda, and Susan are doing a tap dance with Miss Lavanda's tap dance class. And they're all really enjoying it. They're having fun learning tap. And they get to wear cute little costumes and dance like the flag. And so far, they have found out that there will be a special girl in the tap dance who is elected Miss Victory. And she gets to do a very special tap number in the middle of the performance. And it's very ANTM, America's Next Top Model coded.
Yeah.
Where they're all about to do auditions. And Miss Lavanda hasn't chosen who's going to be Miss Victory.
The competition is fierce.
And Molly is like, I actually know all the dance steps. Watch me dance. And she's like, do. And they're like, yay, Molly.
She did it.
Apparently she's a good dancer, which is not expected from the look of her.
Well, she's getting older now, so she's becoming like a real worldly woman.
She's got limb control now.
That's right.
Because she always looks gangly as fuck
I was
to
gonna say
me.
she looks lanky, especially in the art of this book.
And so on the bus, this is Linda's revenge for the worms, I think. Because Linda goes, you know, Molly, you are the best dancer, but sometimes these things aren't fair. And sometimes you might be too ugly to wear the costume. But she basically is like, yeah, you know, like I have really straight black hair and you have really straight mousy brown hair that's always in 2 braids. So they're probably going to choose someone who looks prettier.
I'm sorry, the line is, yeah, I'm afraid braids would look dumb too. No offense, Molly. That's so funny. And that's how you know they don't like each other.
And that's how Linda has never gotten over the worms.
Yeah.
And
haunted.
Susan's such a Molly suck up sometimes. And she's like, well, we could perm your hair and then you would be the best dancer. My sister Gloria permed her hair last week and her curls are glorious. Sorry, guys. I can't say my R's very well. And the sentence had too many R's in it. So Gloria's,
they get you.
Gloria's curls are glorious. And they're like, we could buy a perm kit and we could perm your hair. See, so many R's.
It's a trap.
It was a trap. It was a hard for Caroline, a name with an R. Hard for Caroline. But so they kind of decide, you know what, we can do this. We want Molly to be Miss Victory. We'll put all of our movie money together so that we can go and buy the perm kit. And I did think this was kind of funny and how hair trends change because when I was a youngin' their age, it was so in to have stick straight hair. Like,
yeah,
I had my hair's it's actually straightened today, which is funny. But I have curly hair. It used to be, as you saw, if you blink and you'll miss it in one of the Samantha episodes, like kinky curly hair. And people were so unabashedly mean to me about what my hair looked like.
Sure.
My sister one time helped me straighten my hair, and then she looked at me and said, you know, I think God did you wrong by giving you curly hair. Well, and then there was this girl, the popular girl in my elementary school. It was middle school. The popular girl in my middle school and I were in a like 1-act play of A Midsummer Night's Dream together. and I straightened my hair to be, like a Tatiana or something, and this girl said, "You just look a lot prettier when your hair's straightened." And, like, I couldn't do it every day. It took me 2 hours to straighten my hair, but I had all this, like, noise that I was a prettier person when I had straight hair. So for years, I did permanent straightening.
Sure.
I probably will have cancer in 2 years from all the chemicals on my head. But it is just funny that, like, at this point, the straight hair is, like, ew, yucky,
Right.
and having, like, a perm poodle is, like, glorious hair, you know?
Luxurious hair.
That's why I always think that old men, when I was younger, thought I was so pretty because I had curly hair and I looked like the girls of their youth. And that's because I used to work in restaurants, guys. And people always be like, "Oh, you're a fine young woman." And I was like, "If only boys my age felt
Yeah,
this
thank you so
way."
much. Spread it around.
Thanks, Dad.
Tell the youths of America.
So they on the bus home, off the bus home, Molly comes home and Mom has a letter for Dad with a special announcement. The announcement is he is coming home. Mom
Dad's so
burst into
back.
tears.
Yeah.
She's like, "Finally, thank God." He's being transferred to the Veterans Hospital, the very same that we're doing a fundraiser for in Jefferson. He's being moved from England. Everyone is like so excited. They read his letter and he is like, "Jill, you look so beautiful in your prom dress. You're such a grown woman. Ricky, you're practically a man." And Brad has gotten so big. And Molly, can't wait to see you look exactly the same and eat some roast beef. And it is funny because Molly clocks this because everyone's been beating on her on the bus and is like, "I can't
She's
believe."
already feeling ugly.
She's like, "I can't believe my dad said I look the exact same." In the same sentence, he talks about eating roast beef.
Yeah, it is tough.
And then she does have the very little girl mentality that this is the year I'm gonna change. This is when I'm gonna be an adult woman now. I'm done with this childish look. I'm done with these braids and these glasses. And I'm gonna get hot.
You know what though? I kind of like this is maybe the part I liked the most about the book is that the other two girls are dealing with such other bigger crushing things that I kind of thought it was charming that because so much of Molly's books are just mundane
Yeah.
things going on in her life that her big change
Is wanting to be grown
like
up.
yes her dad's coming home but yeah that it is just like I want to be the star in this show and I want to work hard for it because it's something I'm good at and I want to look prettier. I want to change the way I look a little so that I can feel like I'm also growing up.
No, I mean, I think the thing with Molly is we can I think and I wanna talk about this more in the yapping, but I'll just put a tab in it now. I think we get frustrated with Molly because we've been in similar situations and we know how we'd react or have reacted to. So it feel like I've never set my family's house on fire to have a baby raccoon, so I can't tell you how I would act in that. I've never rescued my friends from an orphanage.
I've never found a dead guy in a cave.
Exactly, so I don't know, so I can only trust Kirsten/Samantha's reaction to those things.
Right.
Whereas, as I just said, I know how it feels to want your hair to look different because you think I'm ready to be pretty, you know? Ugh.
Even like the she goes through kind of a crash it about her glasses and like how they do or don't make her look too. And I had glasses for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But I listened to a girl read off the letters behind me in a vision test in 3rd grade so that I didn't have to get glasses. Like a fucking idiot. Like all it did was like hurt me
Yeah.
for like another year.
But yeah, but it's relatable, unfortunately. And so we get to chapter 2, a hair-raising experience.
Yeah, it's
So Molly's super excited about Dad coming home. She can't sleep. But then it gets super sad super quick where she's talking about how she can like remember how Dad smells. She can remember his laugh, but like the image of him is fading in her head because she hasn't seen him in 2 years. So Molly hasn't seen her dad since she was like 7 or 8, basically, which is a while.
Which is a double hit on the Molly looks the same.
Yeah,
train.
but at the same time, you do look the same at those ages.
You don't
know?
change that dramatically.
So she only has her little locket, and she's like, "It's just a faded black and white image. I don't, like, really remember what he looks like." So she sneaks downstairs to their scrapbook photo albums to, like, look at pictures of her dad, and she is like, "Fuck, I do look the same." And then Mom comes down and is like, "Oh, you couldn't sleep either," and they look at pictures, and Mom's remembering things. And Molly's kinda like, "Do you think, like" this is another heavy part. Molly's kinda like, "Do you think we'll, like, recognize Dad, or do you think Dad will be different?" And Mom's kinda like, "Yeah, I do." She's like, "I think it'll be weird when he comes back because we're really used to him not being here, and it's gonna be awkward at first. And we don't know what he's seen. We don't know how hard it's been, like, it might be an adjustment. I did think that was kind of real. Like,
It is, yeah. I think it's the realest her mom's been about anything that's going on. Like, 'cause even the Christmas book, we read a lot between the
yeah,
lines, right? Like,
we created a whole narrative.
yeah, we were writing our own fan
But we were
fiction.
right. This
Yeah.
proves it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, 100% that, like, we're all older, everything has changed, and it won't be, like, perfect day one when everything is said and
Yeah.
done.
And I guess I didn't think about it just because I have the luxury of not ever having had to think about it. But it must be a weird adjustment when you have a family member who goes away to fight or goes on, like, duty or, like, something, and I can't
Like on a
remember the name.
surface tour?
Yeah, like, on a tour, that's the
Yeah.
word, yeah. On
Or
tour.
a deployment.
Yeah, deployment. Mhm. I grew up in a military town. But, who goes on deployment and they come back because you do get into the rhythm of not. It's a little bit like when you go to college,
Yeah.
but, like, your family continues their life when you're at college, you know?
Yeah, or even
And
when you, like, you go on a trip for work
yeah,
or you, like, go away. Like, our friend is away for almost a month now
and
for
things are gonna
work.
change.
Things are gonna change.
Hope she listens, she doesn't.
Changes for blank.
Changes for blanked out. Um, and so then mom is like, "But enough of that trauma, go back to bed." So
Yeah. She's just like,
she's like,
"Anyway,
"Anyway, you couldn't
put
sleep
that
before, your
away.
dad's gonna be different, good night." And
Grapple with that."
grapple with that, bitch. And so then Saturday, Linda, Susan, and Molly go buy the perm stuff, and they're in the little, like, store, and then they start talking about war, as 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds do, and how they don't fully understand, like, exactly how basically, Molly's like, "My dad's coming home." I think they kinda talked probably about how her mom says he's gonna be different, and they're like, "Well, at least he's gonna have his legs because, Grace Littlefield's dad is a paraplegic now, or yeah, a paraplegic now, and he can't walk.
It's nuts.
So that's hard for Grace, I'm sure." And then the devastating blow happens where Linda says, "At least Grace has her dad, and it's not like Miss Campbell, whose soldier fiance was killed, which we were worried was going to happen, and we were right. So now Miss Campbell is a widow." Or like a pre-widow, and she's so pretty, and I was like when I read that, guys, I went, "Oh, no," out loud.
It is
I was like, "My worst fears of this book were confirmed."
also when they say, like, "I bet she's proud of her sacrifice."
This
And
is
then the
another heavy part too.
yeah, and they're like, "I think I'd be more proud than sad
I'd be
if,
more
like"
sad than proud.
yes, other way around, yeah. If, like, my dad died in the war.
And I do then think that's kind of interesting to talk about that people are often told, like, "Oh, you should be honored that they served," and it's like, "No, I would rather them be cowards and be home
Yeah,
with me."
I'd rather have that person for the
Yeah.
rest of their natural life, but because they are doing something that is just human-based conflict.
Yeah. So it is a little bit of a dark conversation, and
Yeah,
then
especially because it's the kids having it, like,
yeah, as they're looking for perm
yeah.
shampoo. And then Linda's kinda like, "I don't even understand how war ends." And I'm like, "Girl, same." She's like, "What, is just one
Yeah.
side just say they're tired?" And they're like, "No, one side's literally just, like, surrounded and
It's just, like,
has
done.
no
Yeah,
options."
it's over.
And
Remember when
then
we reenacted D-Day at summer
yeah,
camp?
it's just like that. "Remember when we betrayed you and you gave up?" That's how war
That's
ends.
how it is. You've actually experienced it
You know exactly how
on a
war
much
ends.
smaller scale.
And then Susan is, like, pretending she knows what's going on, and she's like, "This is definitely the perm stuff you want, the, like, ultra perm." And the, like, shop owner is kinda like, "You girls should be doing this, maybe not?" And Susan's like, "No, it's for an older person." Molly's 2 months older than her, and he lets them buy it. Kids unsupervised children is a bad thing, is a thing that we should be glad we don't have anymore.
I was gonna say, so I know, like, at the drugstore still you can buy, like, box dye and bleach of certain varieties, but, like, the real stuff, you have to go to, like, a Sally Beauty and you have to show an ID because the actual chemicals and, like, some of the higher end stuff and you asked what I think this is, and we can talk about it when we get to it, because I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Um, you're not, like, allowed you can't buy
Yeah.
you could buy versions of it, which I think is why they have to redo it multiple times on her hair, but I'm pretty sure children, even if you said you were buying it for somebody older, even then, I really don't know. That was, like, maybe the biggest stretch here because I was like, perm chemicals, even more so than, like, bleach, are, like, worse.
Yeah.
They're, like, noxious, like,
Oh,
chemicals.
yeah, I've gotten
Yeah,
reverse perms, like, I've gotten permanent
you've done
straight.
chemical
Yeah.
treatments, so you get it.
Yeah. So then they go up to their attic hideaway with the perm stuff. They pull Molly's hair down, and Linda's reading the bottle, and she's like, "I think we'd have to have her hair wet." And Susan's like, "No, I think we're gonna be okay." And Susan's like assessing her hair, and is like, "You have a lot. Should we like cut it too?" And Molly is losing confidence in this situation quickly. Be like, "Hey, did you see when your sister did this?" And Susan's kind of like, "Not really. I just saw her come down with curls." And she's like, "But I know I can do this. It'll be fine."
Also,
And
I'm
so,
sorry, they're totally
oh
gassing
yeah,
themselves in this room.
they're in a like tiny attic with noxious fumes. Luckily for them, Jill comes up and is like, "What is happening? What is this smell?" And yeah, so like, what do you think this is that she's doing?
So I did a little Googling to confirm if I was right. I'm pretty sure they're doing a cold wave perm, which was like a style at the time where you do it at home and you see it in the art. You like pin it up and it would give you like a temporary wave. Okay. Because like the heat the heat perms were much more damaging. And technically, if you ever lightened your hair, this is still true now. Like I couldn't get a perm done unless I grew out my root all the way, which currently it is it's much more grown out than it usually is. Um, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing because it was like the first time you could do it at home without going to like a salon, and it was a cheaper alternative. But the problem with it is that you're dealing with harsh chemicals in your house. And basically, I mean, and they joke about it with Molly, you could burn off your hair like at the
That's what
scalp with the
I feared would
chemical.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So luckily Jill actually saves the day.
Yeah.
And is like, "Molly, do not do that." She's like, "I can fix your hair for you." Like, "Girls, put away that noxious chemical. Linda, Susan, go home. Molly, we'll do this after dinner." And so then we go to chapter 3, the new Molly. Girl time. Molly is really tickled because Jill even remembers that she's gonna help her do her hair without Molly having to remind Jill.
It's cute.
Which is cute, because I know, like, you want your big sister to, like you. And so then still, Jill, blah, 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 what was it?
She's
So then Jill
pinning up
takes
her
her up to
hair.
her room,
Yeah.
and yeah, she starts doing this little, like, curling thing where she's basically, like, wrapping it really, really tight and then pinning it. So she's basically, like, forcing it to stay in a shape, right?
I
Like,
am pretty sure like we could also do this.
we should try it we'll do it for yapping, guys.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure if I did my hair like this, it would do like ringlets.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's anything different than like when I braid my hair damp and like twist it. They're just doing a more aggressive version of that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just, like, I don't have straight hair, so I don't know the struggle of getting it to hold a shape,
Yeah,
but I think they're making them really tight and tiny so that there's more bounce to it.
I think so.
And so Molly's sitting there as Jill's, like, ripping her hair out of her head, basically. She's like, "This is super painful." But she's like, "Jill, how do I become a woman?" And Jill's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You're so elegant. Your clothes are always pressed. Like, you don't have scabs on your elbows. Like, your socks are never falling down. How do you smell nice? How do you do it?" And Jill's just like, "You just do it. Like, you get older and you figure it out." And Molly's like, "I want to be older and I want to figure it out." And Jill's like, "You are a little bit older now." And she kind of highlights the Molly series for us a little bit, where she says, "You know, 2 Christmases ago," because we completely skipped over one Christmas. She's like, "2 Christmases ago, you remember, you were really, like, anti-change for the tree because dad wasn't gonna be there, but this Christmas, you did a lot better with, dealing with the changes and kind of letting us do a new Christmas. And when we had that English girl come stay with us, you were very generous." And so she kind of says, and she's like, she
Oh,
also says,
Emily mentioned.
yeah, Emily mentioned. And she's also like, "You don't clomp around as much either." She's like, "You're a lot more still." She's like, "You're not as annoying." She's like, "But I look the same." And Jill says, "Well, don't rush growing up. You're gonna want to be a kid." And then another sad part of this is Jill kind of says, "Honestly, I'm jealous you're still a little kid because I missed a lot of growing up with dad. And now he's coming home. He's kind of missed my like childhood a little bit. And I'm going probably like, to school or to get married in 2 years. So he missed kind of some formative years, and you're young enough that you still have a bunch of time to, like, grow up with dad."
Yeah.
And it is kinda like the same timeline, I guess, but I kinda know what she means a little
Yeah,
bit, where
it's
it's like,
sad.
so I thought that was kind of unexpectedly sad, you know? And then she, like, sets Molly's hair up and, like, sends her to bed, and Molly sleeps like raw dog on her pillow with these pins in her head, and she barely sleeps, it says.
Yeah, honestly, I get it. The 1 or 2 times I've slept even with like rollers in,
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine.
It's not worth it.
And so, but in the morning, she takes them out, and voila, curls. Beautiful. New Molly.
Actually, I have beef with this representation because I feel like her hair was like very wet.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
I think they're dry at this point.
But it wouldn't. No.
I think so. Because they start using water later.
Yeah, but I'm suspicious about it.
You're suspicious about the method?
I am.
Well, no one else is because Molly looks confident.
Yeah, I mean,
and
she looks
great in
amazing and
school.
it was perfect.
Yeah. She's glowing at school. Susan says, "Wow, you look so good. The only thing wrong with you now is your fucking glasses."
Yeah, you're still an ugly nerd. Never forget
you got
that.
your glasses.
Just because you changed your hair.
And Molly's like, "Damn, she's right."
You can change your hair and you can change your clothes.
Yeah, exactly. And we're always saying that. And so then Molly starts to be like, man, my glasses too are a problem. And so they go to dance auditions, and Allison Hargate is up first, and she looks perfect in the Miss Victory costume, like it was meant for her because she's blonde and has curly hair and blue eyes.
She looks like Victory.
She's the American dream, but she's not as good of a dancer as Molly because she misses a few steps. So, haha, Allison.
Got her.
We don't like her still. And then, but as Molly's dancing in practice, it's not her audition day yet because she's sweating, her hair falls out, and it's limp again. So she comes home to Jill, and it's like, Jill, it didn't work. And so Jill's like, all right, we're going to try everything. So for the next week,
she's like, roll up the sleeves.
She's like, let's do this. Musical montage of them doing crazy stuff to Molly's hair. They finally net out that they are going to wet her hair, and then they're going to wrap it, and they're going to wet it again in the morning while it's still wrapped. And then Molly's going to wear it to school, like in a crazy look. And then she's only going to take down the curls right before.
Yeah.
And so they do that, and it's like cold still. So Molly's like, oh, I feel a little gross. But she looks fabulous. She does the audition. She does it flawlessly. She looks great.
She's nailing it. Every step of the way.
Every tap of the way. And then Miss Lavonda, fabulous woman. Wish we had more of her.
I know, she looks so good.
Throws her handbag. Is like, we have Miss Victory. And she lets Molly take home this little suitcase that is like coveted. That's like a plaid suitcase with the Miss Victory costume in it. And Molly's like, I have achieved greatness. Dad is going to come home on the day of the victory, March 18th. He's going to see me in all my glory. He's going to be like, who is that adult woman dancing in place of my daughter? And then we get to chapter 4. The show must go on. Time is slipping by. Molly's dancing, Jill's twirling hair, and Dad is on his way home. The hair method is taking its toll, though, and Molly is feeling a little sick.
Molly is getting, like, cold poisoned by her sister. Like, she's so desperate that she's like, oh, yeah, you know what's good? In Illinois cold, I should walk outside with freezing cold hair.
And just compound it on my head.
Oh, I was always told, like, when you were little, like, if you go outside and your hair is wet, you'll get sick.
And apparently, it's true.
It's true in this specific instance.
So they have dress rehearsal, and Molly starts to have a little bit of a cold, and Mom notices because her face is flushed. And so Mom says, no more cold hair until the day of the party, the dance rehearsal. But then she gets a loophole that they have dress rehearsal, and Molly wants to have her hair done for dress rehearsal, which is kind of unnecessary. Oh, disagree. But I know, I get it.
In her child brain.
Yeah.
I think. Where she's like, well, it's a dress rehearsal, and if my hair doesn't look good.
Yeah, and Molly is, like, running herself ragged. She is, like, a stage, like a toddler in tiara, like, just trying to hold on.
It is a slow-motion train wreck.
And so they get to dress rehearsal, so she has her hair done, and we kind of go through what everyone's doing for the pageant. Allison Hargate's mom is singing badly, I think.
Yeah,
is the implication?
Like, dressed like the Statue of Liberty,
which I kind of thought was fabulous.
I know, the kids are kind of making fun of her and being like, how embarrassing. Like, I wouldn't want my mom singing up there.
But I was like, that's such a catty housewife move to be like, I'm going to be America, but like,
I'm
Lady
the
Liberty.
Statue of Liberty.
I know. I was like,
cunty.
oh, cunt.
Yeah,
I'm going to do that now.
I like that.
We should dress as the Statue of Liberty.
Collectively?
Yeah.
Should we have a Statue of Liberty crawl?
We can dress as a
famous U.S. monument.
We can dress in Marta's funeral costume and the Statue of Liberty. I'll be the Statue of Liberty. You can be Marta in a funeral costume because she never got to see it.
It's true. It feels gauche.
It can be a homage to what could have been.
I'll be a boat.
Okay.
With a small child coffin on the front.
Guys, don't forget you can buy the child coffin.
Don't look that up.
Don't fact
Don't
check
fact
us
check
on this.
us.
But
This is a 100% historically accurate podcast.
and we've always said
And it's
that.
never been anything else.
But so Allison Arcade's mom is singing poorly, I guess, and then Ricky comes on and plays the band with the other like high school freshmen. And then Brad is in a play to buy war bonds, and he holds up a sign that says bonds. And
Buy 'em.
buy 'em. And then Molly's mom gives a speech that's like about donating blood to the Red Cross. And they're kind of like, Mom would have never done that when Dad was around, but now she's braver.
Now she's brave. She's stronger.
And it's gonna be a rude awakening to Dad that his wife has a voice.
She's
Maybe.
changed.
She's changed. Changes for Mom.
Changes for Mom.
And then Jill's about to sing with the choir, but Molly can't watch it. So she goes backstage. She dances her heart out. The audience explodes with rapturous applause. People are screaming, crying, throwing up. Molly is the best dancer they've ever seen.
Superstar of America.
And it is Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It is America. It is questioning the law. It is bringing up questions you never asked, the dance that these girls are doing. And Miss Lavonda afterwards like, Molly, amazing.
Fabulous.
No one has ever been more America.
More
than
Miss
you.
Victory.
We are going to win this war because of the way that you danced. If you dance like that tomorrow, the war will be over tomorrow.
That kind of hustle, that kind of spirit has been seen in a millennia. She just said that to a 10-year-old child. Or 11, maybe.
10. She's
Depends on
almost
what
11.
happened.
She's like she's like 2 days from me 11.
Yeah, it's almost. It's actually also her birthday again.
Yeah, happy birthday, Common
Happy
Molly.
birthday, Common Molly.
Throw that pussy out.
Yeah, that's this.
But she like leaves and she's like, I feel terrible. Like now that the adrenaline rush of dancing is done, I'm sick as a dog. So I'm just gonna go to bed. When she goes to bed, she does her hair again.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And then she wakes up in the morning being like, oops, sleep did not help.
It's over.
I'm sick. And she's at
Cough,
breakfast
cough.
like
Dying at the table.
And Mom's like, Molly, you have to eat breakfast. She's like, I'm trying. And she's like, wait a second. And she feels Molly's head and she's burning up. So she takes Molly upstairs. Molly has 103-degree fever, which I believe is actually a very serious fever.
It is, especially in kids.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure even in adults, I think anything over like 101, you need to be like
cooking,
in the
right?
ER. Yeah.
So they call the doctor to their house and he's like, yeah, you have like a massive earache. Ugh, earaches are the worst.
Yes. Mercifully, I like that they're mostly not an adult problem.
Ears are the worst, and then like when you swallow and your ears hurt, there's no purer torture than that, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I used to get strep all the time as a kid.
Strep's the worst. I hate strep.
Strep it's just so haunting because it's such like a concentrated pain.
Yes.
And just goes on for so long.
It's so bad. So she basically is down for the count. She has to be on cold medicine that she's taking 3 times a day. And that means she obviously has too high of a fever to perform tonight. And this part killed me because then Molly's devastated, which I totally understand. She's been working so hard for this. She was going to be so pretty. And she's just like, she can't even cry because she's so sick. And Mom literally comes up to her and is like, this is literally so unfair. Nothing I can say can make you feel better. I'm so sorry this happened. I literally don't know what to say.
Love you. Go to bed.
And then everyone slowly comes in and pays their respects to Molly. And
it's a lot of platitudes.
Yeah, and Brad's like, tell me you were sick. And then
that was good. Thank you.
And then Ricky comes in, he's like, I have to get the costume from you. And so he takes away her precious costume box, and Molly goes, who's gonna be Miss Victory if I can't? He's like, Allison Hargate. And I'm like, justice for Allison, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, feel bad for
Molly. Kind of full circle victory lap.
Yeah, it kind of fucks for Allison.
So, sorry.
And Ricky's like, you're a better dancer, but Allison will look good in the costume, so bye.
Kind of the whole point of the book.
And then he's also like, by the way, Dad sent a telegram. He's coming in later than expected.
So he wasn't going to see you anyway.
And so then Molly's like, this sucks. And then Jill comes in to pay her respects and is like, maybe we overdid it with the freezing cold hair in March thing.
Could be.
She goes, there's just no way to be mature about these disappointments sometimes.
Yeah. Be a brat, Molly.
See you later. And they leave Molly, and then Mom comes back in and smells nice. And is like, so we called Miss Guilford. She's not here yet, but we're leaving.
Bye.
So she'll be here in a half an hour. Here are your paper dolls and some ginger ale.
And a kaleidoscope.
And a kaleidoscope. Can you imagine being sick as a dog and just on cold medicine and just like kaleidoscoping?
No, I think I'd have like a heart attack.
Nothing would make me feel sicker than looking at a kaleidoscope when I'm
100%.
sick.
I do like the optics though, where she thinks that she's has the only light on in the house.
Yeah, she's like,
dusk sets in, she's alone.
It'd be bummer. No TV.
No TV, just alone with her thoughts, her dolls, and her kaleidoscope.
And she takes her hair out of her pins and's like frustrated. She's just bummed. And then she's like, my earache is so stupid. I'm even hearing things now. I'm hearing the front door open, and it's only been 15 minutes, so it can't be Miss Guilford yet. Ugh, now I'm hearing feet on the steps. This is so dumb. And then she hears a voice. Oh, I'm home. And it's Dad.
Yeah.
He when he said he was coming home later, he just meant later in the day. He could have been clearer about that in the
Yeah,
telegram.
I also think that. Like, we bothered to send a telegram, but he wasn't even that much later. Because everybody's not home.
I think everyone thought he was coming home like weeks later.
Right, because like if Molly hadn't been sick, nobody would have been at home.
And he would have been like, guess this is the wrong house.
Okay, guess my family's abandoned me.
And he would have gone away with the woman he met in England.
Yeah.
But then Molly is so excited, she like runs out. This did make me like tear up a little bit.
It's cute. It's very
Because
cute.
She like runs out and she like buries her head in her dad's like jacket, and he's like, good golly, Molly, like you look the exact same as I remember. You look perfect. And it was perfectly perfect. And then it ends.
Then it's over.
And we're done. We do get a peek into the past. Peek into the past.
Peek into it.
And we were like, you know what happened in war? So much devastation, atrocities. They talk about how hundreds of thousands of millions of people died. They don't directly mention the Holocaust, but they mention German atrocities. Do they mention the Holocaust?
I don't think by name. I was just re-skimming it.
But they do kind of mention that people died. And then they have this weird part in the middle that I really didn't like, where they talk about how, like, women got to return to being women. And, like, the men were like, it's your patriotic duty to give us our jobs back, which they were doing it. Like, shut up.
Okay, so
Find a new job.
They don't name it.
Okay.
They just say millions of people were murdered in Nazi concentration camps.
Concentration camps is pretty tough.
But that is literally the only sentence directly about what the conflict is.
But it is crazy they mention it, honestly.
Yes.
Because I'd be like, what's a concentration camp? But then it goes it skirts over that part of the war, and then it talks about how, like, women had to go back to, like, I'm doing 2 different segments, actually. So I'm going to start with this one. So we're talking about the war, and talks about the atrocity of the war, mentions the concentration camps, and then mentions how we ended the war by dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. And it has this insane line that says that when we dropped the atomic bomb, it let the world know that no one would ever be safe ever again. And I'm like, okay, I didn't need to read that at 9. It's true, but it's insane to write. And then it kind of switches into after the war for a little bit, and it talks about how, like, yeah, women were basically forced to give their jobs back to men. And then it has this weird line where it's like, women were super happy to start wearing more conservative clothing again after wearing skimpy clothing during the war. And I was like, let the women speak for themselves. Like, it felt a little bit like, and then it was good that all the moms came back and were moms again. And not women, they were moms. And I just didn't like it.
I think it does pop off a little bit. Like, I believe Pleasant Rowland, the woman who founded the company, she definitely, when she speaks, talks a lot about, like, the family unit and stuff. And I do think that it pops through always a little into these peek into the past, because there is always a little bit of a sentiment, even in Samantha's book, where it's talking about, like, forward progress for women.
Yeah.
Even in that book, it feels a little like, well... And then women could go have a job, but they wouldn't, because they'd be happy when they eventually chose to have a family.
Yeah. It always returns to women being women, which is not great for the American girls, I don't think.
It's a little weird.
And then we kind of wrap up with talking about how the UN was formed, which every little girl knows about the UN.
Every little girl loves the UN.
And it says Truman helped form the UN, and it made sure that at the end of the day, we would all work together forever. And I just said, oops.
Hopefully nothing ever happens that changes that.
In this week of our Lord, April 3rd. Sorry, Molly's in March, we're in April.
That's right.
Little did she know, 60 years later, we'd be on the brink of another.
We might be considering running it back.
We might be starting a trade war. Big oops, you know?
Something cool.
Something cool. And that's it on Molly, guys. So, Molly, my final thoughts on it. Tough girl to love, but I did appreciate the stories. A positive that I think, at least, is that with these books, especially looking at the first three, they could have easily just done a cookie cutter girl who had the same personality throughout all three books and was just living in a different era. And I do appreciate that to at least a certain degree, all three girls have different personalities. Like, they wouldn't be friends, as you said. And I kind of like that. Because I do think it does, the one thing I think that people like about American Girl dolls, and the one thing that I think we find out when we listen to people talk about it, is they relate to certain girls, whether that's based off appearance or personality. And that does imply that they're, at least the authors of these and the company working with it, is doing a good job at kind of being like, we're going to give girls 3 personality traits, but we're going to stick to those, you know? And I do, it is kids' books. They could have very easily just had them all be the same girl, basically.
Yeah,
Just insert.
same girl, different font.
Yeah, exactly. And so I do think that's nice. We've talked about it a bit, and I think it was kind of cool to get a peek into more modern times. But I think, at least for me, I enjoy the, actual more historical books because it's kind of fun to just fall away into a completely different time period a little bit. And then that's pretty lucky for us because our next girl is Felicity.
Once again, I don't know anything about her.
Colonial girl.
That's about it. That's all I
Yeah.
know.
What are your final thoughts on Molly?
I'll just read them to you. I said, I think Molly is a quirky, silly gal who managed to maintain some semblance of whimsy in her life despite living through a world war. And then I said, I ultimately feel that I softened on her, but in a way that I have almost no feelings about her at all.
Yeah. She grows on you because you spend so much time with her.
She's just sort of like, I feel the way about her that I do about people I knew in middle school that I don't know about anymore. Thanks for being a part of my life.
Exactly.
Who knows what'll go on?
I'm not going to miss her necessarily.
No, I won't yearn for the Molly days.
But I'm glad we knew her.
Yeah.
To a degree.
I have been changed for good.
And guys, Celia will be covering Felicity.
That's right.
In our little switcheroo. And our next episode is going to be another yapping episode. We're going to talk about Kirsten, Molly, and Samantha. KMS, if you will.
KMS.
And we're just going to do that little break episode, that glorious little break episode for us where we just chat and Celia gives you a little bit of a fan fiction about the series so far.
Yeah.
And we'll get a little bit more into, because again, we're running out of time, but we'll get a little bit more into some of the kind of deeper things we want to talk about with how the books are and just Molly in general. But share this with your friend who was a tap dancer.
Share this with your dance teacher.
Share this with your older sister who helped you with your hair.
Share this with your friend's hot mom who dresses like the Statue of Liberty.
Share this with your dad when he gets back from fighting in the war.
Share this with your little brother who kind of hates you.
And share this with your friends who are clinging on to a thread of friendship.
You'll miss them when they're gone.
And they might miss you, but not if you jumped a can of worms on their head less than a year ago.
And you deserved it.
And you deserved it. And until next time, guys, goodbye.
Goodbye.